This week on X-Trex, speak up, I can't hear. Death is near. That is a stupid place to hang a mirror.
It's the rapid aging episode. Welcome to X-Trex, a podcast where we introduce each other to our fandoms one episode at a time. I'm your host, Erin Cline, an X-Files spooky bitch.
And I'm your other host, Stella Cheeks, a slut for Star Trek the original series. Each podcast, we pick 2 episodes that fit a cinematic theme, watch them together, and then record our feelings.
Our theme this week is rapid aging.
Well, we obviously watched Season 2's The Deadly Years, in which radiation from a comet, sure, whatever, causes the landing crew to age rapidly, which is just as fun as it sounds. I don't know what else to say. It's just like very on the nose, this one.
And I picked Season 2's Dod Kalm. This is another really over-the-plate one for the X-Files in which Mulder and Scully investigate a naval ship where all of the crew have inexplicably and rapidly aged after deserting the ship. But now they're rapidly aging. Does it seem like these 2 episodes have the same plot? It's because they do! This episode is literally modeled after The Deadly Years, including the ending, apparently, which I was like, is it really?
Yeah.
I don't know. That seemed a little weird. But it is directly modeled after it. So we watched the same episode twice, basically.
More or less.
More or less, yeah. Are you ready for digging in there, Mr. Spock?
Sure.
Okay, great.
This episode, heads up, we're both like, these are both kind of boring episodes. Yeah. So we're going to do our best to not make this a boring episode, but no promises.
Energy's weird. Vibes are off. I don't know.
Vibes are off.
Mr. Johnson, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Not deaf yet, you know. Not yet.
Can you tell me what happened?
What happened?
Now for a quick-ish episode summary. The Enterprise has set down a landing party of Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Scotty, Chekhov, and Lieutenant Arlene Galway because, let's have 4 of the 6 landing party be senior staff on this routine resupply mission. When they land, Kirk asks, where is everybody? Which definitely is not a great sign. He laments that Robert Johnson, the man stationed here that he previously talked to, was a little out of it and his thoughts sounded disjointed. Probably doesn't mean anything, right? Anyway, let's all split up and then look around. Chekhov finds a dead body, is scared so badly that he runs right out of the room and into the arms of his loving captain. The crew go to examine the body where Bones figures out that the man has died of old age. But Spock said that's impossible because no one here on Gamma Hydra 4 is over the age of 30. Bones looks like he wants to slap Spock for second-guessing him, but they are interrupted by 2 old folks wandering in. But they're not old at all. They're only 29 and 27. What's that? Oops, they're dead. Back on the ship, Kirk starts to give double orders and feels some twinging in his bones. Bones has more gray hair. Lieutenant Arlene is losing her hearing. Spock is really cold. And Scotty looks like the Grim Reaper. Basically, everyone but Chekhov is getting old as hell. Mr. Spock and civilian scientist Dr. Janet Wallace, aka one of Kirk's beloved exes, begin an investigation into the cause while Chapel and Bones put Chekhov through the medical ringer to see why he isn't aging the same way. Their only clue is that a comet passed Gamma Hydra 4 recently, which gave off a weird low level of radiation. As Kirk ages, he becomes increasingly forgetful and, how do I put this lightly? Well, he becomes a huge asshole. He accuses his former paramour of only wanting to fuck him because she's into older men. He snaps at Commodore Stalker, who, to be fair, is super annoying, and reprimands the crew for pointing out his numerous mistakes. It's clear to everyone that he is no longer capable of commanding the starship, but nobody wants to say it out loud because, as previously established, they are ride or die. But Commodore Stalker isn't, and the pencil pusher orders Spock to convene a hearing in which Kirk is found unfit to command. Kirk is not chill about the news and says some really mean things to Spock. But Spock, too, is ride or die, so he refuses command of the ship, which means desk jockey Commodore Stalker is in charge. As a first order of business, he sends them straight through the neutral zone because he's dumb and thinks the Romulans will listen to reason, a thing they historically have never done, and they are immediately surrounded by pissed-off Romulans. It looks real bad for the Enterprise, but never fear, Bones, Spock, and Kirk figure out at the last minute that the reason Chekhov didn't age is his body was flooded with adrenaline when he was scared. You know what that means, boys? Break out the experimental stimulants. Kirk shoots up, saves the day with some classic captain trickery, and all is right in the world. Except that Lieutenant Arlene definitely died, and Chekhov is pissed at everyone for all the physicals. Space laughter. What did you think of this episode?
It was fine.
It's wildly fine.
It's wildly fine. Yeah, like, I was saying before we started the X-Files one, at least with this one, it was colorful and like, it's in Technicolor, and that's one of the things that they were like, look, pretty colors. And like, you're right, that is enough sometimes.
And there are like, I know I always say this even about the ones that I'm like, this is a terrible episode. There are some good character moments.
Yeah.
Like all of the Spock stuff is actually like pretty nuanced and good.
Sulu's great.
Sulu is excellent in this. Uhura's barely in it, but she's really good in this when she's like, oh, he changed it to channel 3. And Spock was like, yeah, but after what you told him to. And she was like, yeah, I did try and get one over on you, but you got me,
You
Spock.
got me.
You always do.
You got me, bestie.
Yeah. Chekhov has some really great moments in this.
This is like the most likable that I've ever found him outside of the movies. Because I like him as an old man.
Agreed.
I just find him very irritating.
Yeah, he's an irritating teenager.
Well, yeah, that's the whole deal. His like demographic is not for us. And like maybe if I had watched this when I was younger and I don't know, was into Davy Jones or whatever, I would be more into this.
Yeah, it's not a bad episode. There are things I really like about it. I love the whole running theme of the series where like Kirk meets his old exes, and it's not just him leaving them for the ship, it's also them that they're very career focused, because of course two very like driven career focused people would really get on until the moment that they didn't. And I just love the whole like, yes, we still shouldn't be in a relationship. We're definitely gonna fuck, but
yes.
we both acknowledge that it was the right thing too.
It was like aggressive at the end of this episode too. They're like standing next to each other. He's giving orders while looking her directly in the eye, like, I'm going to take her clothes off. It was like, oh my God. I know that everyone's like chill about this, but holy shit.
The sexiest place in the whole ship for Kirk is the bridge. He's like, this is where I feel
This
the
is
most
an
alive.
extension of my dick. Yeah.
So there are good character stuff in this. And even like, there's some good like acting moments too. Like, we make fun of Shatner all the time because he can be big and flamboyant and whatever. And there are moments in this when he does, especially as he gets older and older and older. But like kind of in the mid part of the episode when they are starting to age, but it hasn't been that rapid, there's some really good quiet scenes between him and Bones that I really love. And I don't know.
There was a moment when he like turned around and he like let his arms swing out before it was like totally clear that he was starting to age. And I was like, no, that was a really interesting movement choice. And then as he became older, he started to like loosen up his limbs in a way that I was like, oh yes.
Because all his bones hurt.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you're a classically trained actor who like does this shit as a warm up. Like, I know we've talked about this before. I don't remember exactly which episode. I think the one where he gets possessed by his ex-girlfriend.
Turnabout Intruder.
Yes. That people pull stuff out of Star Trek and are like, Shatner's a wild actor, and it's actually him making really justifiable choices inside of the episode.
Yeah,
and
they're in space. It's a wild time.
Yeah, and like this choice and the way he was moving his body, it's clearly a choice, and it's not just like...
He makes some really specific physical choices. The way that he holds his like arthritic hands, the like mouth stuff he does, which is like caricature-y a bit with the like, you know, old people mouth or whatever. But like he makes choices and he sticks with them, and they are very consistent.
Yeah, I agree. It was really interesting. And we were talking too while we were watching it that it's weird to actually know what they look like aged up like 30 years and to be like, I mean, you could never have anticipated you were going to look like a toad. So like it's kind of hard to like really aim for that. But Leonard Nimoy looks almost identically to how he ages.
Yeah, because he ages like slowly because he's half Vulcan. So his is like a lot less pronounced. So he actually just looks like a regularly aged person instead of like, we are decrepit now. But also it is part of the lore. I don't know. That's not the word I'm looking for. The plot, I guess, that they are aging so rapidly and their mind is going really fast. So it sort of does make sense that Spock is the only one that's aging. While he's aging rapidly, he is still aging slowly. So maybe that one looks more realistic because their bodies are like literally like crumpling. Yeah. So that's my justification for that. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. I accept that. That's fine.
I wish we had more scenes in the series of Chapel interacting with other crew members other than the Triumvirate, because even the little bit with her and Chekhov was great. I love Chapel. And her hair looked excellent.
Oh my God, she looked great. She always looks good.
She always looks good. We love
Chapel.
it.
I know.
I do love this shows up in TOS, which we've seen a couple times. We'll continue to see, and then it shows up in lots of Star Trek. But the writer's complete disdain for anybody above the level of captain. everybody else at Star Trek is a fucking, or in Starfleet is a fucking idiot. And how dare they? And he was such like a little wiener.
He was
just
a
like,
wiener.
Can we go back to...
Yes, I agree, but I like that unlike a lot of other like higher authority and ranked people, he was like, yeah, I didn't know what I was doing.
True. He has some self-awareness. Like, and it does feel like he gets put into certain positions, like when he corners Spock and is like, we have to do this, right?
Yeah.
And, Kirk historically, and will continue, he does not like authority.
No.
Despite being an authority. Pushes back pretty hard. And like, it's one of those where like Kirk is right, but the Commodore was also right.
Right.
But the Commodore is still a wiener.
And he's like, he is doing it not because like I've got a thing I need to do back on Station 10. It's I'm trying to save your lives. And like that I think also contributes towards him being like a little more sympathetic. But you're right, he's like a little weenie, which is annoying.
And we've seen other times in the higher ups where they're like dumb and don't know anything and make the wrong choices, but also are like power hungry and stuff. And it's clear that this dude is just like, I know my strengths, and my strengths are behind the desk. Please take me to Star Base 10 or whatever.
That's really where I thrive.
I really thrive there. They have a lot of research that I can be doing.
I would much rather be at a desk.
I would much rather be at the desk.
All right, we have to talk about the incredible makeup job on Dr. McCoy and his ever-increasing Southern accent throughout this episode.
I love that choice of him just like getting older and not giving a fuck and being like, I'm just an old country doctor.
I've just relaxed so much I can't even articulate my words anymore. I'm just, I'm a poor old country
Just
doctor
me.
in space with you good folks.
I also love that as he gets older, he reverts to his like old country doctor ways, but also becomes like old man grumbly, like because of course Bones would be.
Yes.
Kirk becomes just a wild asshole because he is like losing control and like he can't handle it, which also does happen in the movies. Like the older he gets, the more he's like not an asshole to his crew, but he's like more like punchy and grumbly. And then Spock gets like pretty chill. Like he's like kind of sad but like subdued and chill, and that also happens. And so like those character choices do make sense. They're just, heightened because of the and Scotty just gets tired. He just needs a nap.
I thought it was very funny that like everyone was kind of subtly aging, and then it was like, just in case you miss it, doors open. Here's Scotty,
He is
100 years
Santa Claus
older
now.
than everybody else is.
Well, it's funny too because he ages so quickly, and so it would make sense like, oh, he should probably die. But we were joking like the reason he doesn't die is because his body aged really fast because he's older and like has abused it with alcohol. But then it just stopped at a moment and was like, and we're pickled now. We'll be alive for at least 10 more days longer than everybody else. And then poor Lieutenant Arlene, who I think as an actress you kept calling her Peter Pan, which is very accurate to the like style. She definitely was Peter Pan in her like college production or whatever.
100%.
But she was actually a pretty good actress for the like few scenes that she got, but like she died pretty quick because she was too skinny. Metabolized to
Too petite.
Too petite.
Skinny and short. Oh, death sentence.
Death sentence.
What are you
in
gonna
space. You need meat on your bones in space.
That's right.
That's what we've learned.
And alcohol in your veins.
And stimulants at the ready. That's how we survive in space.
I love that it came down to how can we survive? Oh, Bones, we need you to mix us up a cocktail of stimulants. And he was like, I got you, bro.
They did it all together. There was like a very short montage of them sciencing together, and it was adorable, and I loved it. Very good.
Chapel and Kirk's ex just like passing like flasks back and forth for some reason.
The boys were like, we got it.
I had to do all the physical labor because they were too weak to do it.
I do love the idea of like, everybody's trying to figure it out, whatever. And then the moment the three of them just sit down angry at each other, they're like, oh, we got it. They just needed to take a moment to talk it through, but they were too busy, trying to like not lose their jobs or whatever. But truly, the moment the three of them just sat down, they were like, oh, yeah. Drugs?
Yeah, they're three aging queens. The thing they fear the most is getting old and losing their touch. And then when they actually communicate with each other for 4 seconds, they solve the problem.
And then I love they figure out the drug and then they come into sick bay and Bones and Spock are like, yeah, we haven't tested it on anybody. And they're all doing that thing where they, no, I'm going to do it. No, I'm going to do it. No, I'm going to martyr. And Kirk was like, just shoot it in my veins. Let's go. I got places to be.
I love, too, the idea that he was like, I'm so upset at how badly this ship is being run. I would literally rather be dead. Like, if I can't fix it, I would rather be dead.
I would die anyways, and I would rather die at my own hand than by this fucking idiot in the captain's chair. I never want to know that he ruined this for me. My legacy tarnished forever. Shoot me up. Let's go. I do love the scene. So, like, the whole trial, I guess.
Yeah, the hearing.
The hearing. Mm-hmm. The
yes.
competency heering.
It's bureaucratic, you see.
Let me whip out my unnecessary transatlantic accent. But, you know, Kirk takes it so personally. He's like, Spock, how could you? You just want to command the whole time, blah, 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 which historically, like, he never does. But whatever. Right. Kirk is mad and in his feelings. And then Spock is like, no, I didn't take command, dum-dum. I'm also, like, dying. And that's the real betrayal. Like, okay, I could have gotten over it if you had just taken it from me because, like, you're you. And, like, I do love you still. But you gave it to that dum-dum? I never want to see you ever again.
Don't ever speak to me again.
The like leveling up of drama. Yeah, it's
I
not
never
even
want to have to look at you again.
drama. You know what? It's not even that Kirk becomes an asshole. It's just like his drama filter goes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He
Again,
can't.
aging queen. Yeah.
100%. 100%.
I love that when Spock first came into, he was just like sitting at his vanity, gazing at himself with his arms crossed. I refuse to look backwards at you.
And him and his ex, and they're just standing there and like, well, you're both my exes now. Get out. Maybe start a little club about me. I don't want to hear about it. I do love when he walks into sick bay with it. Spock and Bones are just sitting there because, like, what else are they going to do? And Kirk's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, what? Where else do you expect me to be? And he's like, fine. Oh, adrenaline? Sure.
Put it in my veins.
I love that scene with Chekhov. That is a scene that is like of him grumbling to himself, like, oh, I'll live, but I won't enjoy it. Like, that is a scene that is used in like GIFs and stills and Tumblr jokes and blah, blah, blah. Because it's the best. It's like, it's good character stuff too. Like, he's like, you can have all the skin samples, but I'm going to be pissed about it because I am 21 and angry. Not even 21. He's like a child. Who knows? This is, talking about age, this is when we canonically learn for the first time Kirk's age. So we know that he's 34. Youngest captain, I think, right? Yeah? Okay, cool. Bobby gave me the head nod.
Yep, okay, sure.
I was right. I do think, what did you think about the makeup jobs?
I thought at first like I said before, I like that some of it was very subtle. I like that the Peter Pan lady, like, when she shows up, it's almost like, wait, did I just forget that she looked like this? Yeah. Or like she's just subtly aged up enough that I enjoy it. And I thought the like graying of everyone's hair was very subtle and very well done at first. But then we were just talking about this too. It is so hard to predict what people are going to look like when they're older. And so I feel like it's really easy to identify when it's wrong. Like, I don't really know how else to explain it except that like, it doesn't look right.
Right.
And it's hard to explain exactly what all the pieces together is believable in lots of ways. I thought it was interesting that they committed so hard to the hair, which was interesting as a juxtaposition to the X-Files episode where they specifically were like, it doesn't affect your hair at all, which was also fucking weird.
It made that makeup look worse.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I think especially considering the time and like whatever, I think the age makeup overall, like the subtleness at beginning, very good. I think even though we know that Kirk Shatner ages very differently, I do think that his like, that's a good guess. Like it.
Yeah.
And I think Bones like looks ridiculous near the end, but he also is older than them and is aging fast. I think Spock looks good. I think Lieutenant Arlene like looks good until she looks like a cartoon, but then she dies. So like it kind of makes sense that she has to. Scotty's is the only one that I was like, It looks like you just like froze his head in like
It's so
dry
abrupt.
ice or something.
Yeah, it was so abrupt and like felt so bizarre and there was no. It just went from I have a shocking amount of white hair and I'm old to him like a mummy basically in that meeting room.
And I felt so bad for Chippy Doohan having to do all of that intense makeup and to truly barely have anything to do.
Yeah. It was an interesting choice. I get it because, like you said, he and DeForest Kelley are older, and so it makes sense that they're like, all right, we're gonna go even further up. But also, like, you didn't have to. Like, it doesn't matter. So I don't know. I thought that for the 60s, it was pretty good. I think on a small TV that wasn't like
It probably looked awesome.
Yeah, it probably looked great. It's just, I feel like especially the choices they made with the graying and like blonding of Shatner's hair on like a smaller TV probably looked really good too.
Yeah, his hair specifically looked pretty solid.
They made a lot of like very slow progression choices with how they turned it white, and I really liked that.
Yeah.
And it's funny because by the time he got to having fully white hair, it looked better, which is true for a lot of men, actually. By the time you go fully white, it's like, actually, that looks really good on you.
Not terrible. Yeah, in my research, I found a quote from DeForest Kelley where he said, I only worked half days on the show because I was in makeup the other half. I'd just sit there in the chair for a while, then I'd take a break, go to the John, come back, and they'd work some more. It was a tremendous makeup effort. There were 3 makeup men working on me all the time, on my hands and my face. Leonard Nimoy was lucky on the show. He was blessed by the fact that Vulcans didn't age as fast as humans. And there's another story that I found where Shatner was in makeup for so long one day that they shooting got almost done and they didn't have to use him, and he was like really pissed, and it was like, well,
you better find a reason.
Yeah, and apparently there's like some deleted scene somewhere where he's like swearing and being like, my fucking makeup, blah blah blah. Which, to be fair, if you sat for 8 hours or whatever, and then you were like, so I just did this for funsies.
And now you have to take all of it off?
Well,
that's the worst part, too, because it's not like your day ends and then it, slides off of you. You have to have all of that removed.
Especially if any of it was to be reused. I don't know if any of it was, but the wig and stuff probably. Yeah. So, yeah, that must have sucked.
Yeah.
And, I feel nowadays, especially with, all the crazy shit that actors do, even though I guess a lot of it is CGI, but there are lots of movies and stuff where, a lot of people know what they're signing on to. Oh, I'm going to be in this chair for forever. But I feel like back then it was probably more unique to be like, oh, I have a half day in the makeup chair. That's wild as shit.
Yeah. Ugh. No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. No, sir.
So one thing that you wouldn't have known, because we haven't actually watched that episode yet, the maneuver that he pulls at the end, the Corbomite maneuver or whatever, that is actually the name of an episode from, I think, season 1, where there's some trickery, blah, blah, blah. I won't give it all away. But so Kirk is saying something out loud that everybody other than Commodore Stoker would know, this is not a real thing. Oh, Captain's being tricky again. But he specifically uses that wording or whatever. But what's an interesting thing is Chekhov wasn't in season 1, and it is a kind of a recurring thing where there are several things that Chekhov knows that he necessarily wouldn't know. When we watch Wrath of Khan, there's a bunch of stuff that happened, but he wasn't around for Spacesuit, so why would he know that?
There was an interview before we saw the whale movie where he was talking about that, so I'm familiar with that part of it.
Yeah, but I found this thing where there's this fan theory, and it was also in the book Star Trek The Compendium, where everybody has now just accepted that Sulu, being his bestie, just filled him in on everything that happened. He was like, oh, you just got new to the ship? Let me tell you all the cool, crazy shit we did. Which I think is great, because not only does that make sense from fanon and fan theory, but the fact that it's in an official Star Trek book or whatever, that everybody's like, yeah, that would make sense, because it does make sense. And when you see their dynamic on the bridge, when Chekhov is grumbling or whatever, and Sulu's just looking at him like, this fucking guy, I love working with this guy.
This little guy.
That makes so much sense to me. And reading that just brought a smile to my face. And I was like, yeah, I love that. Chekhov just read Sulu's diary, essentially. Sulu's like, let me tell you about all the cool shit we do on here. Well, you're going to love it here. Or maybe not. I'm giving you a choice.
You get to decide if you love it or not. And also they probably put in a full day's work literally just sitting side by side, because it's not like crazy shit happens 24 hours a day, and so
they've just got to be talking oh, last time we went through the star system we met Abraham Lincoln or whatever. That does happen, but I think Chekhov is in that episode. We'll get there.
I love the idea of Chekhov not knowing that and being like, I'm sorry, what?
They squeeze me? Yeah, that's some of my favorite like Tumblr posts and stuff of like the theories of like the Enterprise sends their mission logs or whatever to Starfleet headquarters, and whoever reads them is like, this is made up. This is not real. You did what? You did not do that. You aged fast? That's fake. We're scientists. Stop making fun of me. I also have a personal fan theory that whenever any of the like weird sex stuff is like reported, they're like, I don't know, send the Enterprise. They'll figure it out. If anybody can survive, it's that fucking crew. Send them to the weird sex planet. I think it works both ways.
Oh, fuck. I love the idea that the person who reads those reports is just whoever is descended down the line from Skinner, because he does the same thing where he reads those reports and it's like, what is this?
No.
Walter, why did you send me your diary pages?
Incredible. And sometimes Kirk accidentally sends his like personal ones and not his like official ones. Every once in a while it slips through and they're like, whoa, do I report this to HR or do I bring this home and keep it forever? The man, the myth, the legend. Here's my collection of secret Captain Kirk files that I stole from Starfleet headquarters. I did retire a decade early. It got too intense for me. I need this Lower Decks episode.
Okay, so now I'm thinking about when y'all were watching the episode and Kirk is going through his de-aging, and it just
Where he's just jerking
was
from
that
his pelvis.
close-up of his dick, and Erin's like, yeah, that's where de-aging starts. It's in the dick. I want Kirk's cock journal of like, I felt it in my dick fur.
Yeah.
Oh, you know,
Sensation in my groin.
he definitely has at least one entry where he's like, so my dick looks different. Age. It does not.
Naturally, the first thing I did was go look at my dick in the bathroom.
Made sure that the ship was all right. Repeated it a couple times, so it's definitely really okay. And then I went and looked at my dick, and the mirror hung weirdly in med bay.
There's a lot of gray hair. I was really upset about it.
It looked distinguished.
That's exactly what Kirk would do. He would look at it and be like, I think it still looks pretty fine.
He was the one that was like, do I look old? I dare you to call me old.
Right.
And she was like, yeah.
You've already accused me of wanting to fuck you because you're old, and now you're not old. I don't know what to say about this. We haven't even talked about her. She was fine. Whatever.
Yeah, her weird would you say she sounds like the mom from Mary Poppins? And you were 100% right.
Yes. It's just like a very weird transatlantic accent that like doesn't make sense.
No, whatever. It's space. It's wild. I do love that she like actually, she does have some stuff to do. And she's like, well, we tried this theory. Like I could go run those labs. And so she is like
Competent
yeah. And does help and helps make the drugs and like whatever. And like for a character that shows up once and is like meant to just be one of his exes, she could be a lot more one-dimensional than she is, which I appreciate.
And it's like you said too, that when we see demonstration of his exes, it's that they are very competent in their like career-driven lives also, and so it makes sense that she's like actively involved in this. So yeah, she was fine.
Cool, whatever. She was fine.
Yeah, you know.
We didn't talk about the mirror line, which is a great line.
Yes.
When she aged the young lieutenant, I was worried that it was going to be like, oh, my beauty, oh, my youth, and make her really, and like they all have that to some extent, but I love when she was like, I don't want to go to sleep because I don't know what'll be when I wake up. And Kirk is like, go report to your duties. And she's like, thank you for like letting me have the dignity to keep like working and stuff. And then when she passes the mirror, it's not like, she's like, what a fucking dumb place for a mirror. It's a great line. It's an excellent line.
It is a really good line. It feels very organic. Because around that same time is when we as the audience would go, why is there a mirror there?
Yeah, it is a real fucking dumb place for a mirror. She's not wrong.
Yeah.
She's absolutely correct.
Bones has to make sure that he doesn't have cocaine on his teeth or whatever.
Well, the mirror comes off, and then he does the cocaine on it, and then he puts it back on to just double check. I don't have like a lot to talk about in this episode because there's like, whatever. Two interesting things in the TNG episode Encounter at Farpoint. Bones is in that episode, but because TNG is way later, he is like really fucking old. So like it is essentially this makeup a little bit more, and he's like hobbling around grumpy with this accent. So this like vibe comes back, which I love. And there is a TNG episode where they get de-aged, so it's like a reverse. And that one actually is kind of fun, where this one is just like around. A thing that I read, which really I thought was super annoying, is like a bunch of critics were like Zach Hanlon from the A Club was like, nobody learns a valuable lesson about how getting old is just a natural part of life. And like a critic named Darren Mooney was like, oh, there was none of the grace and enjoyment of life's accomplishments when you age. And it was like, yeah, you ding dong.
They're 27.
They're 34. And like, they're not going through the like, oh, yes, let me look back on my youth and all of the things that I used to do, but I'm glad that I made it. And like, there's beauty in age, but they're dying really, really fast because they got a disease. This is not a morality like episode. This is we encountered a weird science episode and we have to unscience it. It's not a morality episode. And I think critics are very important, blah, blah, blah. But those some of the dumbest things I've ever read. Like, that is not, you guys are big ding dongs. That's not what the point of it. I agree. It's a mid episode, but like, that's having a weird morality like story would not have made this episode any better.
No.
It would have made it worse, I think. That's like stupid. That's a stupid thing to say. And I just like to tell these men that they're dumb.
It's your brand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have really anything else to talk about in this episode.
Either.
It is what it is. They got old real fast. Rapid aging.
De-ages from the dick. That's what we've learned.
Yeah. Age is in the balls.
Is that why men are scared of vasectomies?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe we've discovered it. Thanks, Star Trek.
Snub the show down.
Yeah. The crew of the Enterprise do not age gracefully, but instead turn into sleepy, grouchy assholes who are still capable of saving the day because, well, they may be old, but they are still better than everybody else in Starfleet. Suck on that, Commodore.
The landing party is poisoned by radiation that makes them old as hell. As an aging queen, Kirk is predictably not taking this very well, and only Bones' love of stimulants saves the day. Drugs!
Are you ready for Scully, it's me?
I am. Let's do it.
Do you have any snow globe juice for me?
I've got half a dozen lemons I squeezed into this jar.
That's their stimulant. It's the snow globe juice.
Shot full of antifreeze. Delicious.
They won't let me into SAM, but because of your medical background, I was able to get you a clearance code.
This clearance code is invalid. Where'd you get this?
The episode opens with half of a naval ship's crew boarding lifeboats and abandoning ship against the captain's orders due to a mysterious yet unspecified events. 18 hours later, they are spotted by a Canadian fishing vessel. However, in that short span of time, the young crew have become old as hell. Mulder and Scully go to the naval hospital to visit the only surviving member of the crew, who, despite being only 20 years old, has aged to the point of being unrecognizable. Mulder has a theory, of course, which Scully assumes is that it's because of the Bermuda Triangle. But actually, Scully, it's a wrinkle in time that ships keep disappearing through, and also it's definitely a government experiment. Duh! Mulder and Scully go to Norway to visit the cursed ship, which they find by crashing directly into it. Inside the ship, they find the mummified remains of the remaining crew, along with Captain Barclay, who claims that time got lost after his ship encountered a glowing light in the ocean. The boat they came in on is stolen, and the first mate is predictably murdered. The naval trawler, who they hired to bring them in to the ship, is pretty unhappy about his ship being stolen and his first mate being murdered, and it's about to get way worse for him because he's attacked by a Norwegian pirate who is mysteriously not aged but left behind by the pirates who stole the trawler's boat. Scully is convinced that they're passing over some kind of magnet that's fucking up their bodies. It's super unclear, also kind of irrelevant. But just kidding, because the trawler discovers that the pirates did not age because they were only drinking the recycled water from the ship, leading to the realization that it's something in the seawater itself that is corroding the ship and the humans on board it. The trawler is like, hey, cool information. I'm just going to murder you real quick and like lock myself in this room with all the water. Deuces, feds. Scully is forced to try to find alternates. This episode is so long. Scully is forced to try to find alternate sources of fresh water to keep the super rapidly aging Mulder from the brink of certain death. The trawler's life is also about to get significantly worse again, though, because the hull fully rots through, drowning him in his own special little prison, which is a very cool shot, but it's just like so much of the episode. Scully, while also rapidly aging, but still a scientist, damn it, does a bunch of blood tests and determines that something in the water is dramatically increasing their salt levels, essentially pickling them from the inside. She and Mulder pass the fuck out and are found shortly after by the Navy, who quarantine them and use Scully's notes to pump them full of fresh water and flush all the bad salt out. The episode ends with Scully looking mournfully at the absolutely wrecked Agent Mulder. The end. What did you think of this episode?
It's so boring.
I got bored halfway through the summary.
I got bored listening to you. Yeah, I was like, I just watched this. Ugh.
Right.
I don't even care. I feel bad just saying that because, like, but it is boring. And honestly, there's not even that many, like, interesting character stuff between them. And the makeup looks bad. And the, like, side characters aren't very good. And Skinner's not there. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to like.
Specifically, don't tell Skinner that they're going to do
I don't know
this.
what I'm supposed to like about this episode. I don't hate anything about this episode. It's not offensive. It's not even that confusing. Like, you said, you were like, oh, it's just like the Star Trek episode. But it also isn't.
Yeah, it is.
I can see how it's based on it.
Yeah, it's based directly on the script from a Deadly...
The Deadly Years.
The Deadly Years, yeah.
I mean, they both... So the comet gives the Star Trek characters the radiation, and then it's like kind of said that maybe this meteorite fell into the ocean and
it's interacting with another meteorite that was already there, and that's creating this like extra
so like there's also like salt radiation from the meteorite sex in the ocean. Space rocks?
Unclear.
Yeah, I mean, and the X-Files was like, well, we never said we could give you answers. We're just looking for the answers.
We just ask questions. We're just asking questions.
We're about action, not results.
That is Mulder's absolute like pipeline of information. I want action. I don't care about results.
Wins, losses, it doesn't matter.
Mulder, you only say that because you lose 80% of the time. Numbers don't matter.
No. I thought it was hilarious. They go all the way to Norway and they're like trying to talk to these Norwegians who are superstitious and also, you know, speak a different language. And then there just happens
just in a bar.
just happens to be a guy from Florida there who's like, yeah, I speak
Norwegian?
I truly almost said American. Wow. I speak English and Norwegian and have a boat. I'm sure, strangers. Would you like to go to this cursed, like, body of water? And then he's, like, mad at them. And
I know.
I do love when Mulder is like, nobody made you come?
It's like, you hired me to bring you here and bring you back. And it's like, cool, well, you can't. So what do you want us to do?
Yeah, like nobody twisted your arms. We didn't even use our guns. And you're being like a real, like, Debbie Downer about this. This is just as much your fault as ours. I didn't run into the ship.
You cold approached us in this bar.
Yeah, you came up to us. Wait, did they explain who stole the ship?
It was the pirates. So the pirates...
But they left that one pirate?
Yes.
On accident?
Unclear.
Okay.
Maybe they're just cutthroats. Because that's what the trawler was saying, is that there's, like, no honor among thieves, basically. So, like, the other three had a chance to escape, and so they just left the other guy behind.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the pirates tried to take over the ship after the aging had already started, but then they locked themselves into a service closet, and they were drinking sewer water, and so that's why they didn't age. Sure. Okay. Why not?
Yeah, sure. But it's not aging, it's salt sucking.
Yeah, they're getting pickled. That's part of why it's like, okay, well, the makeup's not great, but it's also not supposed to be aging. Right. It's actually that they're being
sucking
pickled.
all the water and stuff out of their body.
Right. And so it's creating these like deep facial wrinkles, and like they specifically say it doesn't impact their hair, and so they still have dark eyebrows.
Scully's makeup looks a lot better than Mulder's, but again, Mulder is like, because he's never drank a drop of water in his
entire
life, and so he
ever.
was like starting at a negative. He was at a deficit already and could not afford to lose any more water.
No.
Which I thought was actually quite funny.
I really enjoyed that his body is so much more fucked up than Scully's, who just recently got abducted by aliens. Like,
Yes.
his body is in such poor condition that the salt was like, there's nothing here.
There's nothing for me here. Ugh. I do love that Scully was like, I might be on my deathbed, but boy howdy, I will be doing science and I will be writing in a journal.
Yes, Scully's
So dramatic at the end,
commitment.
though, too. Jesus.
She's like, my dad was on a naval ship. I've never been allowed to touch the first mate's notes. I'm doing this.
She's
She loves
like-
Moby Dick.
She does love Moby Dick. That is established.
Yes, that's good.
I love that even on their deathbed, Scully's like, I will not be telling you what happened in the alien ship and get fucked and die. She's like, I can't put it into words, but also
I'd rather not.
I don't want to talk about it with you. I know it's like your one life's goal and wish to know what an alien ship is like. And I have the power to give that to you, but my best friend, before you die. But I'm not going to do that. Would you like some snow globe juice?
Maybe she's giving him something to live for. Maybe if I live a little longer, Scully will tell me about this. Which I don't even think is
No. It is interesting that in the Star Trek episode, they're going like senile and stuff because it is aging. And in this one, they have all their mental faculties.
right. They're just being
They have
pickled.
their like regular colored hair, and then they're just like. So yeah, it's like I can see why it's inspired, but it is actually quite different.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that are different about it. It's also, I feel like it would be.
There are no Romulans for one.
That's true. There's no neutral zone. I don't know. Maybe the sea is the neutral zone.
Sea is the neutral zone. Norway, the neutral zone.
Oh, fuck. I was going to say, I don't know what's worse. If you are going senile along with it and you're like unaware that this is, or you're sort of aware that this is happening to you, or to have all of your faculties and be like, my body is shutting down. I feel like that would be scarier in some ways because you're like super aware of it.
Yeah, because in the Star Trek episode, Kirk the whole time is like, no. No. I am totally fine. You're all liars. I'm the best captain. Shut up. Whereas this one, they do have all their mental faculties, which is probably worse. To be like, oh, there's nothing I can do. I'm just slowly dying.
Ick.
Ick.
Don't love it. All right. I have a surprising number of notes.
Really?
This episode, yes. A lot of it's about, okay. So Mulder mentions this at one point during his not slideshow, but map slideshow at the very beginning, that it's similar to the Philadelphia experiments, which these happened after World War II, and there was a guy who worked for the military. There's a book that they were.
Yeah, the military is bad. I get it.
It's a whole thing. So this guy might be crazy. He's probably crazy, but he claims that he was in a naval yard where this destroyer disappeared in front of them, and it reappeared in Virginia. I think he was in like Pennsylvania. Yeah, he was in Philadelphia. Duh, the Philadelphia experiment. This is like doing drunk history. Yeah, this is a really important fact. So it disappeared from there, and then it reappeared in Norfolk, Virginia, which is like 100 miles away, and multiple people saw this or whatever. So this is the claim, is that they fucked with wormholes or whatever. It's really unclear, but that's the idea, is that this happened. There are some things from actual World War I and World War II that they did to camouflage ships, which is probably what this person was seeing, that there's like, you can paint ships in certain ways that like refract the color, and so it makes it harder to see out in the ocean. And sometimes they do like mirror plating on the outside so that you're like seeing a reflection of the water and it camouflages a ship. So it was probably something like that, and not
called
that
a cloaking device.
It's not that it like, teleported or whatever, but that's the idea. And so that's like, there is actually something behind the idea behind this ship doing this like fucking weird bullshit or whatever. So that's what that was referring to. Also, a huge chunk of my notes is about that.
I love how much you hate talking about this.
It's boring.
You're like doing it because like it's part of the conceit of the show, but your body language and everything is just like, ugh.
We don't usually do mid X-Files episodes.
Yeah, because you get the
I get to
luxury.
cherry pick. Yeah, there's not another one to cherry pick with this theme.
Spoiler alert, we're about to hit a lot of mid Star Trek episodes.
We have a lot of good
Buckle
X-Files
up.
coming.
This is your producer speaking, and I just want to reassure you that all episodes of this podcast will be good, no matter the quality of the episodes that we are watching. Please keep listening. And Thank you very much.
We're just talking people out of our show. Let's see. Okay. Oh, the reason that they used this naval destroyer is because they featured it in 2 other episodes, and they were like, well, we're going to get our money's worth, and we're going to do
good
this.
for them.
Well, that's the thing, is that they were like, okay, well, this won't be that hard. And it wound up
They
being
had to
like,
corrode it.
yeah, they had to like make massive changes to this ship. And also like they had to do so much aging makeup with them that it wound up being like one of the most difficult episodes of the entire season, even though they were like, just write something with the ship, it'll be fine.
Truly, every time they're like, we're going to save money. It's like, nope, you spent 16 times more than you would have if you just like did a new thing.
Chris Gardner has no like concept of scale. He's like, I can write this on a page and that's fine. It's easy to do. And then once he started directing, he was like, ooh, that's a lot harder than I thought it would
Yeah. Imagination of the mind. A lot cheaper than production.
be. Yes. So some of the other things that made this difficult were that because they had to do this outside, the temperature would like drop like really suddenly. And so the crew is like outside freezing trying to do these shots. And so it's making the process super uncomfortable for everyone. Everyone had to stay on the ship. And so the like close quarters are also like driving people insane, basically. They were like, this is the worst experience. And
How long did it take to shoot this episode?
I don't have an exact date. It usually took about a week and a half because it took 2 weeks total to do like all the editing.
Yeah.
Usually, not always. The makeup applied to David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson took hours each day, resulting in substantial delays in the filming. So people are just like chilling outside while they're getting all this fucking makeup
Yeah,
done
especially
too.
when you really don't have any other characters. You can't be like, oh, let's do all these other scenes.
Yep, exactly.
You can't.
No, there's like 4 people in this fucking
Yeah.
episode. Yes, people later called it the episode from hell because of these issues.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
to
sucks.
put all of that work in to get this truly like bland episode sucks.
Yeah, it does. At least it's only the 2nd season, and so they don't have the like super highs of some of the later ones. So I feel like it's easier to do a dud in the earlier seasons in a way that like doesn't really, when there are duds in the last seasons, they're like insane. Like, how did this get made? There are some fucking wild ones, but this is just like boring. This is one of the other things they do in the first couple seasons a lot is they'll do ones that are in prison because it's also very cheap. It's easy. Like, it's a very bottle episode type thing to do. I don't know if I think we're going to watch one of those prison episodes because they're all kind of the same and they're like fine when you watch them together, but like whatever. And this is like prison at sea.
Yeah.
And it's just, they put a lot of work into it for like no reason. And they did have to paint all of that like corrosive paint on. And so it's called a paint aging or something. And then after this, they couldn't take that off. And so
Yeah, they couldn't reuse the ship.
so they intentionally scuttled the ship and they turned it into an artificial reef. So now it sits underneath and serves as a reef, which I think is actually a really good way to repurpose something like this. So at least there's that. At least they found something good about this episode going forward. Yeah, and the reviews are super mid. Everyone's like, it's fine.
Yeah.
The makeup's clumsy. The isolation between the two of them really pays off as a story. There are like some really interesting camera shots. But in general, it's just, who cares?
100%.
So, I don't know. I have more notes, but who cares? Yeah, who cares?
Great. Synopsis showdown.
Fantastic. Mulder and Scully find a ship where salt ages the hell out of you and you slowly die. Only Scully's compulsive need to journal saves them in the end.
Scully and Mulder get old real fast and almost die because they didn't let Skinner know where they were going.
That's true.
He would have saved them so much quicker.
That's true. It is impressive how quickly he figured it out.
Yeah.
The second he got notice that they were going, he was like, all right, just send the team now.
Right, because Mulder specifically says, I'm giving myself a 24-hour head start and then I'll let him know. So like right before they got on the ship, he probably was like, yeah, we're in Norway, bye. Be back soon. And then the moment they weren't back on time, yeah, Skinner was like, yeah, somebody sent him out.
Yeah.
Call the Navy.
I called my midnight shooter friend.
How many days go past before Skinner's like, I need to start looking for... 2 questions. How many days go past before Skinner's like, I have to start looking for Mulder and Scully? And how many days go past before he starts looking for Mulder individually? I feel like that window's bigger.
Yeah, but also if Mulder is gone without Scully, Scully's in his office being like, what are we going to do?
That's true.
That's also, he's getting like poked and prodded for that.
That's
but not
true.
the fun kind. Or maybe the fun kind. Maybe it's a bribe. I'm not really sure. I'm sure there's a fake face like that. Are you ready for a deep throat submission log?
I am. Let's do it.
Jim, boy, you just lay quiet. You can't do no good. We're both through. No, my ship.
Starting with Star Trek, this episode was directed by Joseph Pevney. The interesting note about direction and how this all kind of came together or didn't. The original script called for the aged Kirk to run from the sickbay to the bridge, growing slowly younger until he arrived. So instead of the hip thrusting and the dick de-aging, he was just supposed to, like, slow motion run back towards his command while becoming younger. But as director Joseph Pevney told Alan Sherman in the Star Trek interview book, the slow speech patterns and action of the aging Enterprise personnel were making the episode run long. So Kirk's reverse aging scenes were cut.
They were speaking really slowly.
They were old. They couldn't hear.
This episode was written by David P. Harmon. This man wrote a piece of the action. This man?
This man?
This is a piece of the action?
Yes.
No.
Same writer.
Weird.
This original story outline was named Hold Back Tomorrow.
Do they fight the future?
You're right. That's an X-Files movie title. Abso-fucking-lutely. You'll notice some very, very ingenious costume work where, especially our shrinking Peter Pan women, were oversized versions of their normal costumes to make them look older and more frail. And, of course, normally makeup artist Fred B. Phillips would have been given about a month to come up with the prosthetics and all of that and stuff. Instead, he was given
12 hours.
10 days. 10 days.
He did a pretty good job, man.
Yes.
I really do think that specifically, I think Shatner and Nimoy's looks really good.
Especially because it might be apocryphal, but Shatner kind of pushed back on how much
Of course he did.
they aged Kirk and like thinning hair and
He
stuff
didn't
like
want to look
that.
bad.
Of course.
He's very vain.
It's true.
More lore fan stuff. According to Walter Koenig, a close-up shot of his eyes was filmed as Chekhov sees the dead body, but that was apparently one of the most difficult shots in the entire episode because he just kept blinking. So it took like 15 takes for them to get one shot of him like, ugh, but not like, ugh.
And then they were like, this sucks, cut it.
This sucks, cut it. And then they just cut it.
Sucks.
There's an episode of the Star Trek The New Voyages series created by fans called To Serve All My Days that serves as a sequel to this episode, and it was written by DC Fontana and stars Walter
We
Koenig.
do love DC Fontana in this family.
And in that one, it's Chekhov who ages. So, like, up in Stu Kumpf. Getting into some casting notes. That is Laura Wood as Miss Johnson, the very old lady in the beginning of the episode.
27. Best line read in the whole. That and that's a stupid place for a mirror.
She was born in 1901 and then was in a television show about outer space twice because she also plays a rapidly aged crew member in Charlie X as well. And as her counterpart, that is Felix Locher as Mr. Johnson. Having been born on July 16th, 1882.
No.
He's the earliest born actor to appear in any Star Trek anything.
Yeah.
I would fucking hope so.
Born in the 1800s, and you're on a TV show about outer fucking space.
Wild.
Wild.
He was a Swiss-born person who started acting later in his life when he was like 73 years old. His son was a film and television actor, John Hall, and he was just sitting around set, and the director was like, "Oh, hey, you're kind of a kooky-looking old guy.
He's
Come
got a
here,
very
play this."
distinctive, like, chin.
Yeah, yeah. So he casted him in that, and he played like a chef in that movie Hellship Mutiny, and then like started acting a little bit in his old age after that.
It's a very Diamond Dallas Page moment for
Definitely,
this man.
yes. Prior to his acting career, he had worked as an insurance salesman as well as an inventor with over 100 copyrights and patents to his name.
Dope.
So just a guy who gets one line but is actually a really cool
He had a
dude.
couple lines.
Yeah.
Lines.
That is Beverly Washburn as Arlene Galway, our Peter Pan lady. In 1951, she appears in the first Superman theatrical film entitled Superman and the Mole Man. This is George Reeves' Superman. It would eventually be sold to television and become a two-part episode of The Adventures of Superman. She worked often through her 50s, was a cast member of the new Loretta Young show. Aside from acting throughout the 60s and 70s, she was also a singer. In 1963, at the age of 20, she had a hit record called Everybody Loves Saturday Night. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Beverly Washburn.
I'm looking out my window pane. Saturday night is here again. Couples go walking by and I can see everybody loves Saturday night.
All right, that's enough.
I think we get it.
I think we're good. That was, yeah.
It's not terrible for like the 50s or whatever.
No, it was very of the time. Her more recent work, meaning like within the past few years, she's been in some really hokey, fun-looking B horror movies, and is also credited for providing the voices in the hilarious fighting mashup game Mugen. Mugen is a kind of like open source fan created fighting game that takes characters from everywhere, other fighting games, pop cultures, and they just put them into this one weird, funny fan made fighting game. One memorable outtake from this episode features Beverly Washburn getting stuck on a line and then blurting out, "I feel like hell!" Which I hope was her in the old person makeup, just because that fits so fucking well. That's Charles Drake as Commodore Stalker. He had a small walk-on career on film before his time in the military in 1943, came back to Hollywood after the service, and was signed by Universal, getting prominent roles in Harvey, You Can Never Tell, and Winchester 73, as well as Tammy Tell Me True and Valley of the Dolls. From 1955 on, he worked mostly in TV, where he played all the cowboys and cops you would imagine someone who looks like him would have played. Mm-hmm. On shows like Wagon Train, Mission Impossible, The Virginian, The Fugitive, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., The Smuggles, The Name of the Game, and more. That's Sarah Marshall as Janet Wallace. This is the third and final credited appearance Sarah Marshall and James Doohan make together through their acting careers. Each appearance occurring in separate TV series. So her and Jimmy Doohan just ships passing in the night always. I love it. She was nominated for Broadway's 1960 Tony Award for Best Supporting or Featured Actress for Goodbye Charlie.
Transatlantic. That's why she's got
Yeah,
that fucking
I was just
accent.
thinking that. That makes so much
That's
more
the
sense.
vocal training.
Yeah.
Hell yes. Her film work includes a lot of beach dance party romance flicks, like The Long Hot Summer and Lord Love a Duck. When I saw that on her, I was like, what is this film? Oh, it's a weird beach film. It is called Lord Love a Duck. Okay. With TV work on everything from The Twilight Zone and Hitchcock Presents to Get Smart, Three's Company, The Jeffersons, and Cheers.
She has a very Three's Company face.
She's also has a part in the movie Dave, which I like. That's a good movie. Moving on to The X-Files. This was directed by Rob Bowman. We talked about him when we discussed Genderbender and a bunch of other X-Files episodes.
Great.
Yeah, this guy
Good record.
really nailing it.
Sorry, buddy. I know you did a lot of work on other X-Files episodes. However, you did do these too. Written by credited Chris Carter, of course, Howard Gordon, and Alex Ganza. Gordon worked a bunch on the first 4 seasons of The X-Files and was executive producer and writer on 24 and Homeland, where he reunited with Alex Ganza as well. Him and Ganza work a bunch together. Alex Ganza co-wrote 6 X-Files episodes with Gordon, as well as acting as supervising producer for 23 episodes. Ganza also did work on Dawson's Creek, Numbers, 24, a bunch of stuff. For being such a mid-ass episode, this does a 10.7 in Nielsen ratings.
That's great.
Meaning
Why?
it was watched by 10.2 million homes.
What's the episode right before this? I'll look it up.
I don't know, but I think it's because this is season 2 and
It's getting towards the end of the season, too.
and it's becoming a really popular show. It's
Yeah.
becoming, kind of one of those water cooler shows of did you see what happened on the
Yeah.
X-Files? Sometimes it's this, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's something a little more
again,
interesting,
too,
maybe.
Because it's only season 2, I feel like there's like a much lower bar where
Yes.
like it's not like everyone's expecting bangers every single week in the same way that like a season 5 feels like.
The episode right before this, hilariously, was Fearful Symmetry. But the one right after this is Humbug, so,
Right.
Okay, yeah,
Right.
that makes sense.
Yes.
So this is 19. Yeah, this is pretty deep in season 2. Weird.
Scully finds that sailor, the captain, kind of huddle up in that closet, and he's holding what looks like a bottle of Jack Daniels. The label actually says Jim Dandy's Old No. 2 Kentucky Whiskey.
Really?
Yes, which hilarious by the props department. And then that prop was apparently kept around because they use it again in the 2014 B horror comedy movie Wolf Cop, which is fucking hilarious.
That is the second time I've heard of this movie.
Wolf Cop?
This week.
Really?
Specifically. I'd never heard of the movie Wolf Cop before, but this is the second time I've heard of it this week. So I guess I have to watch Wolf Cop. I like half of those things.
Watch it with Nick. He might get some ideas. Oddly uncredited because he's kind of a major plot point in the episode is Mars Anderson as Halverson. He's like not on the official credits list.
Oh, but he's kind of a cutie.
He is kind of a cutie. He also plays Jack Hammond in the X-Files episode DPO. He's also Bob on a couple of episodes of Stargate and Major Green on Stargate Universe. He's also
That's the supernatural voice.
in season 8, episode 7, A Little Slice of Kevin in Supernatural. He's credited as a future prophet.
Oh, that's so Kevin is the best, and he gets done real dirty, and poor Kevin. Kevin is one of my favorite characters. I know what episode that is. It's an okay episode, but we do love Kevin.
We do love Kevin.
Sure.
You would love Kevin.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Everyone loves Kevin, except for the supernatural writers. They do not like him.
As Lieutenant Richard Harper, I'm going to try my best here, that is Dmitry Chepovetsky. He's also government man number 1 in Apocrypha and supervisor in Folly Ado. So, like, getting the rounds, hell yes. He was also Dr. Bosch on Orphan Black, was another character named Bob on a show called Regenesis, and currently Bo on the show Children Ruin Everything, which, great title.
Cool.
He's also in season 7, episode 7 of Supernatural. The episode name is The Mentalists.
I can't think of that one off the top of my head.
Fantastic.
And I also hate season 7. No, I hate season 6. People hate season 7, but I think season 7's
We're
okay.
not people here.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Sure.
Season 6 is the worst because they bring Mitch Pileggi back and they do him real fucking
Oh,
dirty.
that's right. I did know that you don't like season 6.
Season 7's Leviathan. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
With a short role as a nurse, that is Robert Metcalf. Metcalf is also notable for not being in an episode of Supernatural as Dr. Lass.
So much.
Because everyone's on it.
It's not my fault it ran for 15 seasons.
It is.
No, it's
people
not.
like you.
No, it's not
no.
because I didn't start watching it until it wrapped up, so it's actively not my fault.
It's you and your kind.
That is Claire Riley as Dr. Lascos. She plays a bunch of reporters. Her top billed roles in Freddy vs. Jason, Antitrust, The Sixth Day, and The Core are all some sort of reporter or like webcaster or something like that.
She's like, I had broadcaster training and I'm using this
I
voice.
love how that all lines up. She also played a nurse in Scanners 3, which I forgot there were more than one Scanners movie. So there is that. That is Stephen Dimopoulos as Ionesco. He's also a detective in Talia Kumi and also a detective in the Millennium episode The Hand of Saint Sebastian. He was the Italian guy in Happy Gilmore and did all the Canadian shot sci-fi fantasy shows. He's also in season 3, episode 3, Bad Day at Blackrock of Supernatural.
Bad Day at Blackrock is great, and you've actually seen that
I
episode.
have seen that one, yes.
He's the restaurant owner in that.
Yeah, it's great. That's the one where Sam loses his shoe. I looked up The Mentalist. I have no recollection of that episode.
Good.
I truly was
Fucking
like,
fever dream.
what is this? Who? A town full of psychics? Sure. I don't know. I give up.
As the dastardly Olafsson, that's Vladimir Kulich. Vladimir Kulich is also the voice of Ulfric Stormcloak in Skyrim. You hear his voice a bunch. All of the people in Skyrim did like hours and hours of voice work because it's one of those like
Yeah, it's like it's a sandbox,
70-hour
right? Where you just,
sandbox
like, walk
game.
around and
Right,
you're like,
exactly.
a mission? Sure. I have 10 hours to kill. I don't have a job.
Czech-born and plays a bunch of Eastern European characters in action flicks like Smoking Aces and 13th Warrior. He was also the Beast on 8 episodes of Angel. That's David Cubitt as Captain Barclay. Captain Broccoli. And if his old, harsh Southern accent seemed a little bit much, it's because he's very British.
I thought that they were just doing like a send up of because it's based on Deadly Years. I thought that they were just doing a send up of like, as we get old, our accents come out, especially if we're Southern.
You know what? I'll choose to live in that world.
Yeah,
That's a good one. He also played Robert Lipsight in the Ali movie, has main cast TV roles in Traitors, Turks, and played Detective Lee Scanlon on 120 episodes of The Medium. Was also, after that, Sam Bates on Bates Motel, Dugan on Altered Carbon, and one of his earliest credits is an episode of Tech War! I'll put the horn in there.
Yeah.
Or I'll
But
just
make it just like a tech war.
I'll put like reverb on your voice.
Yeah.
And as Henry Trondheim, that's John Savage. The character's
Good
name is
name.
Henry Trondheim. The man's name is John Savage.
Great name.
He also plays Captain Rudy Ransom in the season 5 finale and season 6 premiere of Voyager. So
I don't remember
close, but
Voyager episodes
Voyager
just
kind of
off the
all-
top of my head.
Yeah. Oh, really? You're not even going to look that up? Okay.
For Voyager?
Supernatural.
Would you like me to look up a Voyager episode?
No,
I
you're
don't think
good.
so. Not in this podcast studio.
He was already an established film and TV actor before this for his roles in Eric, the Deer Hunter, Hair, Godfather 3, and others. He's also a super accomplished Broadway actor in the 70s as well. He's also a frequent co-producer for Spike Lee, like just on a bunch of different Spike Lee movies.
Interesting.
Notable on TV, he played Donald Lidecker on Dark Angel. I remember a lot about Dark Angel randomly, so he was like a big character in the first few seasons of Dark Angel. He plays Hack Scudder in Carnival, was in the new Twin Peaks, and has a lot of stuff in pre-production right now. So, like, all over the place.
All the
Good for
time.
him.
Apparently, through his work with Spike Lee, he got, like, super-duper anti-apartheid as well, back when Spike Lee was working with Nelson Mandela. So, like, seems like a good dude.
Yeah.
All right, legit. So I like to hear that.
All right, my ship has sailed.
Oh,
I hate
God. Woof.
I think I just laughed George Burns.
All right, now it's time for our overall thoughts. These episodes really, the theme hit it nail
Yeah,
head.
the theme, and that was the theme.
We are really making up for season 2. Maybe overcorrecting.
Yes. This feels like the overcorrection. Oh, man.
How well do these episodes tie together? They are the same almost, maybe. A little bit different. Yeah, they're alike.
They're very similar.
Lots of prosthetics and
Lots
stuff.
of the same beats. It's
Also, they both have miraculous cures in which it is weird that it just doesn't stop the aging, but it fully reverses it back to their, like, isn't that like a miracle anti-aging cure that we just found? No? Okay. That doesn't make any sense. We're not going to talk about, okay.
Your skin is so elastic that it just returned how it looked
Slips
before.
back.
I guess.
Maybe because it happened so fast. I don't know.
No.
I have no. The ravages of time.
No.
That's the trick is to not age is to do a bunch of stimulants. That's what I've learned.
It just ages your heart and nothing else.
Yeah, you die before you can get old.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's true.
So now it's time for our fan questionnaire. As a fan, how would you say this episode holds up compared to the others that you've seen?
Fine, honestly. I feel like for being a very whatever kind of episode, like the characters are good. The crew interacts in a way that feels very true to other episodes of the crew. They're very ride or die. Mm-hmm. Like I think that it feels very true to Kirk, and that Kirk feels like a character that would age in that way. Like, you can pry this shit from my cold, dead motherfucking hands.
And he does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Less capital D dramatic, just a little D dramatic. He does blow up some planets.
Yeah. Like, this seems, all right, this seems on brand. Yeah, it's fine. Held up fine. Pretty.
Yeah, this episode, it doesn't hold up in the fact that like a lot of the episodes that we watch are not boring.
Yeah.
Or even if they're boring, they're like there's something weird about them, like, you know, a shit monster from from Russia or whatever. I know that we didn't watch that one for the podcast and we won't, but the fact that that is a real episode still blows my mind. I know we didn't talk about it before, but like it is crazy that season 2 is just like shit monster. Sure.
That early in the series, they pulled the trigger on
we
shit
closed
monster.
the X-Files, but Mulder, can you come clean up this shit? Literally. So, and the episode's not good by any means, but it's also like a wild, where this one is like not wild or interesting or pretty but it's not bad. It's just, it just exists.
Yeah, it's
just filling a number in the season.
Yeah, exactly.
We got X number of episodes. We gotta, so it's fine.
It's like someone wrote on a post-it old ship, and then they were like, wait, we have to write a script about this?
But you know what I said, and I stand by this? Mulder canonically likes Star Trek, and he would have been like, oh, this is just like that Star Trek episode.
That's true.
The fact that he didn't say that once is the most unbelievable part about it to me.
Can't let Scully know that he likes Star Trek. It's still really early in their relationship.
That's true. What is the most Star Trek moment of this episode?
Kirk trying to talk his way out of a situation.
He really monologues it,
yeah,
too. And the monologue is not bad, but everybody is just not buying it.
Yeah, because he's like clearly lost his mind. Yes.
I actually have an answer for this one that I want to put forward.
Yes.
And it's super old Bones saying, I'm just an old Southern doctor, and Spock saying, as I always thought.
I'm not a magician. I'm just an old country doctor, as I've always suspected.
Yeah.
Very, very
that was
good.
pretty good. Yeah, you're right. That was pretty good.
Both solid answers.
Yeah.
I accept. Mine is a tie. 1, how dare you insult my knots? My knots are perfect.
Mulder,
these were cut with a knife.
Mulder, who absolutely learned how to tie knots from a book in the library.
Yeah. And as he was dying, being like, we have so much more work to do. This is unfair. And Scully just closing his eyes with her hand. Like, shh, shh, shh.
As though he were already dead.
Yeah. Those are mine too.
Mulder, I must do work until I literally die. Scully, I would really like a work-life balance.
As she is actively working.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, fuck.
Are you shipping anybody?
Bones and Spock, kind of, but it's not like sexy. I don't. They're past the age where I'm like, I want to watch these two fuck.
Yeah, but there are like lots of triumvirate moments and various couplings. And then at the end, how they're all just sitting together and they're like, oh, yeah, we did figure it out. It felt very like established relationship moments for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Chapel and that lady, I guess, working together, making a stimulant.
Gotta stimulate these men.
Yeah, go stimulate yourselves over there, boys. We'll see you later. Were you shipping anyone on
the ships, they crash into each other. That's the meteorites who are fucking in the ocean that's poisoning everyone, maybe? I don't know. No, I'm not shipping anyone.
I did think it was sweet that they, like, sit down next to each other. Like, that's sweet.
They have good friendship moments in this, but nothing about this. Even when she, like, you know, does the eye thing or, like, they're having conversation, it's still very friend zone right now for me.
And as you pointed out, she refuses to tell him about her abduction.
Yeah.
Even in the face of certain death. It's just,
Nah.
I don't think it's good for you to have this information.
You can't walk into hell with this information. It's too dangerous.
You'll come back with hell.
I can't allow that. Is this episode a fuck fight or a flop?
That's fine, I guess. That's fine.
They're fine.
Yeah.
I feel like this episode of Extras was actually pretty solid for how fine these episodes were.
Yeah, true.
So good for us.
Good for us. We did it.
Good at podcasting. Except for you. All right. And,
that wasn't the right word at all.
Maybe you're rapidly aging.
I would have killed do that too.
Yeah, I have a bunch of ADHD meds you can take coming, hopefully.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've been cod pasting this whole time.
Age comes from the cod. I think it's time to wrap it up.
All right. You can find us on the internet. Follow us at NYD Productions on Twitter and interact with the show using the hashtag #ExtraXPod. You can find me at NYD Urgency on Instagram.
You can find me on Twitter at Stella_Cheeks.
And you can find me on Twitter at Haberdasher9K.
You can also email us at extraxpod@gmail.com with questions or comments. And if you want Fix tagged Old Mary Spurk, boy, howdy, do I have a lot of links for you because it's my go-to brand of fluff when I'm feeling sad because I just want them to be happy and old together. Fuck you, the Nexus.
I know what that means.
Yeah, you do. As I was writing it, I was like, Erin is going to get this.
I did.
And in your long trudge of linear morality, if you feel like mortality, if you feel like supporting our show, maybe checking out our episode notes, original online content, several outtakes, minutes of Erin Cline cracking the fuck up during this episode, and our access to our company Discord, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/MYD Productions, where you can get all of that and more for at least $1.
And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and to tell your friends. We find that this nerdy shit is better when it's shared.
We'll see you next episode for Major Character Sickness. In the meantime,
believe boldly.
Seek truth.
Ship proudly.
Extrex is created and written by Stella Cheeks, Erin Cline, and Bobby Hoffman, and produced by Bobby Hoffman for NYD Productions. Our show theme is Alien Spy by Ionix, and our show art was made by Jonathan Curtis.